Picking the right flight school. Now, it's easier said than done. Now, I know a lot of you guys are looking for the best flight school for you, and you're probably looking online, you're seeing all the advertisements for these different style of programs. And hey, I'm here to consolidate how to pick the best flight program, because a lot of people, they'll go blindly looking at the colorful ads. They'll click, they'll sign up to something, and then later on down the road, they'll regret it. I'm here to let you guys know that there are a few simple things that you should be looking for in your flight school. My name is Michael Colley. I'm a CFI II here in New Jersey, just creating videos to help the aviation community create discussions and create new pilots. Finding a flight school was one of the toughest things for me, because I know early on in my training, I bounced around from different flight schools. And that was primarily due to money, right? I wanted to find the cheapest flight school available. And a lot of people, their goals are different, right? They're looking for the quality of flight instruction, or they're looking for the place with the newest planes. Well, I'm here to tell you a lot of that stuff really doesn't matter, right? When it comes to picking the best flight school. So the first things first, right? We want to look at location. If you are in a metropolitan area, that is going to be a little tough. In aviation, to no surprise, we have these things called airspaces. This is what you want to be on the lookout for. And a lot of people don't know this until it's too late. When you're in a busy metropolitan area, you more than likely have a big airport, right? Here I live in the New York, New Jersey area, the busiest airspace in the world. We have Newark, LaGuardia, and JFK right over there. So I know if I drive maybe 30 minutes north, I'm going to go underneath the biggest, most busiest airspace in the world. And what happens is flight schools who are located in that airspace will have to ask for clearance to depart the traffic pattern. And that's the biggest misconception. I always answer it on intro flights. It's like, not all airports have control towers. At my local airport down in central New Jersey, we don't have a control tower. As soon as we take off, we start learning. Whereas if you live in a busy city area, you and your flight instructor will have to take off, then spend time flying outside of the area, and then start flight training. Now, if you don't know how billing works in flight instruction, it's by the hour. So as soon as you start that engine, the timer's ticking. The timer's ticking in the aircraft, and the money is draining out of your pocket. So you want to be mindful, hey, every single second that aircraft is on, you are spending precious dollars on renting that aircraft and the gas it takes to fly that aircraft. So the time it takes you to leave your flight school, taxi out to a runway, take off, leave an airspace, and then start flight training can be saved in different ways. Maybe driving just 30 minutes outside of your metropolitan area can lead you to an airport that is outside of whatever busy airspace you may be under. And these things you want to take in consideration, because that will save you tremendously in your flight training. You'll be able to hop in a plane, taxi out to a small airport runway, take off whenever you want, not have to talk to anybody. I mean, realistically, you should, but you and your flight instructor will immediately be able to start flight training versus having to be stuck in airspace. And these are things that a lot of people don't think about when choosing the right flight school. It may be better to pick that smaller flight school that's probably 30 minutes outside of the city versus the big city flight school that's at the major airport. Then once you've found a flight school that meets that criteria, go there, ask questions, right? Get information about the different flight schools in your area. Price around. Find the best price that suits your wallet. Now, a lot of people, what they like to do, they like to train in the newest, most advanced planes that cost the most because it creates safety theater. Now, the reality of the situation is the FAA has set regulations where if an aircraft is flying for hire or it's flying at a flight school, they need to do regular maintenance on that aircraft every 100 hours. Now, realistically, a flight school that's working and operating at max capacity, they're flying their planes about 5 times, 6 times a day. So they're checking their planes. Every 100 hours is coming up incredibly fast, maybe on a 2-week basis. So I say all that to say you don't need to be worried about flying the latest and greatest if you're trying to be budget conscious, right? A Cessna 172 is going to do the same job as a Cirrus, realistically. A Cessna 152 is going to do the same job as a 172, realistically. It doesn't have to be the fanciest, the biggest, the fastest. Don't get caught up into the equipment, get caught up into the training. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to go to that flight school, then ask for student recommendations. Or don't even do that altogether, right? I say, hey, stick around in the parking lot, go up to a student and ask for their firsthand opinions about how the flight training, how the flight school is. Because the reality is, a lot of flight schools, they have beautiful front desks, they have beautiful waiting areas that fool a lot of people into thinking it's the best thing on planet Earth. But underlying, you don't want to find out that there are maintenance issues, there are things going on with aircraft, there are scheduling issues, there are aircraft availability issues, which is huge. So I always say, I think the best thing you can do is get a first-hand opinion from a flight student who's going through the program. Whether you have to ask for a recommendation or find someone in the parking lot, something, wherever it may be, ask for that opinion, because that is where you're going to get true, honest thoughts of what's going on in that flight school. From there, it's your flight instructor. So when you go to a flight school, when you get your flight instructor, right, I'm gonna make a video on some things that you should look for in depth on some flight instructors. But the reality is you wanna check and meet with your flight instructor. Talk to him. Tell him about your goals. Tell him about your timeline and the track that you've set for yourself. You wanna make sure that your flight instructor is well prepared to receive you. Ask him, does he have a syllabus? Find out what the syllabus is like. Find out what the timeline is like, right? Ask these questions to gauge whether or not you have a flight instructor who's prepared to meet your needs when it comes to your flight training. Now, the reality is a majority of flight instructors are excellent people. We've all gone through rigorous training. And trust me when I tell you, that training was intense. I studied for about half a year from my flight instructor's ratings. I got my CFI and then I got my advanced rating. But the reality is, not everybody wants to be a flight instructor. Not everybody wanted to initially. A lot of these guys out here, they're just going for the airlines. And what you really want to find out is who's really there to invest into your training or who's really there just to build hours and get to the finish line. You want to find someone who's passionate, who has a plan for you, who has a syllabus, and that makes all the world of a difference, right? Someone who's invested in your training. The last tip I have for you is make sure to get the required equipment needed. And by equipment, I mean the study materials. There's a lot of study materials when it comes to aviation. Like I like to tell a lot of people, the fun part about aviation is the flying. Everybody loves to fly, but nobody really likes to study, right? And that's where the hard part of aviation is. Make sure your flight school, more than likely, they're going to give you a package of books, reading materials, things that you need to have in order to be successful. And if not, I'm going to list some great resources down below of materials that I recommend for flight training. At the end of the day, speak it over with your flight instructor, see what he recommends for you, and then supplement accordingly. Whether that may be watching YouTube videos, whether that may be getting additional reading material. Going over those things, getting those books and materials, follow through with what your flight instructor recommends, and then supplement accordingly. I hope you followed these steps to settle yourself nicely in the right flight school. Now, if you're watching this video and you're saying, hey, Mike, it's still super expensive. I wish there were ways to reduce your flying costs. Well, guess what? I have a video just on that, reducing your flying costs. Check out the video. And if you liked this video, if it helped you, if it made your path clearer, leave it a like, right? Share it with another fellow pilot who's going on that pilot journey as well. And if you want to see more from this, more content like this, feel free to subscribe. I hope to see you in the next one.